In this week's Torah portion, Vayishlach, we are invited into the private lives of our ancestors. The Torah is very terse and doesn't love adjectives or emotion, so we don't often get to crawl under the skin of the people we descend from. Jacob and Esau haven't seen each other in 20 years, not since the birthright switch. Jacob is traveling and he realizes he is going to run head on into his brother, and he is scared, like really scared. Jacob is convinced that Esau is still fuming over his stealing his birthright and will either kill him, kill his family, or both. So he does what any of us might do. He tried to butter up his brother. Jacob sends messengers to Esau with gifts. He makes the messengers refer to him as Esau's servant. Basically, he's trying to bribe his brother with gifts and humility. In the end, Esau is interested in neither. The Torah tells us that he sees his brother, falls on his neck, and weeps. Imagine this scene: two grown men, twins, separated by deceit for 2 decades, and the only one who is on the losing end falls on his brother and cries. It's an absolutely breathtaking scene. In the end, for Esau, all that mattered was that he made peace with his brother, nothing else. Family before, family always. In the scene that follows, we learn that Rachel, the beloved wife, dies on the journey. Jacob buries her right there on the road and places a stone by her grave to mark her resting place. This is where we learn to put monuments on grave sites. We have been doing the same exact thing for thousands of years. I want you to think about that for a second. 3,000 years of tradition. Same with performing a bris, same with Shabbat, same with stoning unruly teenagers. We don't do that anymore, but maybe we should. The point is, we don't often marvel at the longevity of our faith and our traditions and our rituals against all odds for centuries. In those same rituals and traditions, and those added by the ancient rabbis, Jews have clung to our traditions in order to survive and thrive. And without our Jewish community supporting and encouraging Jewish families to perpetuate those traditions, none of it would have mattered. Most of our rituals come with family participation wrapped up by a community's embrace and protection. In 1899 in Harper's Magazine, Mark Twain posed this query. He said, "If statistics are right, the Jews constitute but 1% of the human race. It suggests a nebulous, dim puff of stardust lost in a blaze of the Milky Way. Properly, the Jew ought hardly be heard of, but he is heard of, has always been heard of. He is as prominent on this planet as any other people, and his commercial importance is extravagantly out of proportion to the smallness of his bulk. His contribution to the world's list of great names in literature, science, art, music, finance, medicine, and abstruse learning are also way out of proportion to the weakness of his numbers. He has made a marvelous fight in this world in all ages, and done it with his hands tied behind him. He could be vain of himself and be excused for it." He continues, "The Egyptian, the Babylonian, and the Persians rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and Roman followed, they made a vast noise, and they are gone. Other people have sprung up and held their torch high for a time, but it burned out, and they sit in twilight now or have vanished. The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and is now as he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality?" Now, the disclaimer is that Twain has been himself accused of being an anti-Semite. And read another way, this statement could also be seen as virulently anti-Semitic. However, I still think the question is a good one. How have we survived? If I could answer Twain, this is how I could answer. Family and ritual. Sometimes we love each other, other times not so much, but we are family, quite literally. I was just sitting with a funeral family and we were playing a little Jewish geography, and literally every name we mentioned was related to someone else we also mentioned. There are not 6 degrees of separation between Jews. And even for the very few of us that can't connect the branches of our family trees, we have clung to each other as though we are family. We have housed each other, fed each other, hid each other, taken in each other's children, taught each other, mourned together, strove together, wandered together, brought each other to America, started business together. We are an enmeshed, loving, annoying, caring, all up in each other's business, sometimes too much kind of people. But I hope everyone here feels like they have an entire community behind them, a community and family of roughly 12 million. We are a loud bunch, but we're a loyal one too, and that is the secret to our immortality. Whether by choice or by force, our closeness is our superpower. And I think we can look to Esau as an example of the importance of maintaining family ties. It's not always what we can do or give to each other, but just rather knowing that someone loves you and wants good for you is enough. What scares me now is that our Jewish family of roughly 12 million are once again facing challenges that perhaps we have never seen in America. Antisemitism isn't new, but this world we are living in is different. We have the internet, and our country seems to be kind of flirting with anti-Semitism, but no one seems to be screaming back loud enough, sometimes including us. Now, historically, we have never really been in a position that allowed us to defend ourselves. We were terrified of governments, local or national, with good reason. Most of the time, we weren't even citizens of whatever country we were living in. We couldn't use our voice because we didn't have one. So what did we do? We clung to tradition. We studied and read and wrote and prayed. We made Judaism flourish despite every reason it should disappear. We remade Judaism over and over again to make it portable and accessible, and we took care of each other all along the way. For most of our history, we could not stand up and say, leave us to our traditions and we will leave you to yours. Leave us to love our families and we will leave you to love yours. But we can now. We have a voice now, not just in America, but worldwide. It is without a doubt scary to face the threats, the vitriol, and the misinformation, but not facing them is not a choice, because sometimes we have to be for ourselves, and the time is now. This is an all-hands-on-deck situation. There are indeed so few of us that everyone has to do something to fight back. So go to your grandkids or kids' class and offer to talk about Judaism. Don't turn away when someone makes a joke about Jews. Those jokes are almost never funny, and I think especially when a Jew is telling it. Don't allow anyone to make you feel that being called a Zionist is some kind of slur. If someone ever tells you to go back to where you came from, make sure you ask them which century they are referring to, because we've been expelled so many times that that's actually a pretty complex insult. Hold on to your people. Remember that really all Jews are your people. Know that as Jews we are carrying on traditions that have kept us alive through the most horrific of times, and we can now too. Remind friends and family of that, and let them know the importance of belonging to and supporting their Jewish community. Without belonging and without supporting, we don't have our Jewish communities. Esau wept on Jacob because when all was said and done, even if they never saw each other again, he wanted peace with his brother. Because Jacob was his family, and somewhere in those intervening 20 years, Esau realized that the blessing was not necessarily what had come from Isaac, but who was standing in front of him, his brother, his family. Someday when the history of this time is written, maybe another famous author will come along and say that they have the answer to Twain's question. They will write that they never understood why no one figured it out before. What is the secret to the Jews' immortality? Each of us. Each of us is the secret, and the bonds between us. Like the white space between the letters of the Torah, The secret that holds us together as a people is the same as it always has been and the same as it always will be: togetherness, Torah, and tradition. Without each one and each one of us, we don't survive. But if we hold fast to our family trees and our tree of life, like we have for thousands of years, we survive. Togetherness, Torah, and tradition. That's it. That's the answer. Shabbat Shalom.